Hello again, and welcome to another edition of the SaskAgToday.com Roundtable. I'm joined by the Chief Agricultural Editor of SaskAgToday.com, Kevin Hirsch, and 620 CKRM Regina Agri-News Director, Ryan Young. I'm your host, GX94 Yorkton Agriculture Director, Doug Falconer. And first of all, like we have been for the last few weeks, we'll start off with harvest. And harvest is progressing. Kevin, you've been working in that southwestern part of Saskatchewan. How are things going out your way?
Well, the crop report says the Southwest is furthest advanced, and in this particular area where I am, it's even more advanced than much of the rest of the Southwest. I would have to say that things are 60 or 70, maybe 75% done here. You'll still see fields that need to be combined, but there's lots of work has been done. Things were slowed down for a couple of days with some rains, which is similar to many areas of the province, but this is Friday afternoon, and I've just got rolling again. Came back to the home base here to chat with you guys, but we'll be heading right back out again.
Ryan, you're in the southeast portion of the province. How's harvest coming along there?
It continues to progress pretty well. I was talking with a couple of farmers this week. One guy around the Moose Jaw area, Ray Francis, is part of the 620 CKRM Country Cookout, and he's about halfway done through his harvest. The next crops that he has to take off is durum and canola. The other crops that he has, some pulse crops, they've been coming off pretty good. His yields, they're okay, but I mean, obviously they could always be better, but for the most part, they're okay. He missed a hailstorm from earlier this week by at least a couple miles, so it just kind of goes to show how isolated those thunderstorms and weather events can happen from farm to farm. The other farmer I talked to, Andy Klein from the Francis area, he's kind of on the opposite end when it comes to harvest. He said that it's not going really well due to a lot of rain that they've had in the area. So it's kind of tough getting the crop off. The yields aren't great either. So hopefully he can salvage a little bit of crops and a little bit more yields as a result. And then finally, I talked with one of my neighbors back home in the Margot area. He said his yields are doing pretty good. When it comes to barley, for example, he was saying it's in that 115 to 120 bushel per acre range. And he also thinks that his wheat and oats are going to be great as well. And the only disappointing crop he thinks he might have is canola. So it's kind of a mixed bag when it comes to areas around the province, depending on where you are. But around here in the Regina area, it's also okay. A little bit of lodging damage on some crops here and there from what I noticed in my recent travels, but crops are coming off.
Yeah, here in the East Central District, our numbers are saying 25% complete, but I'm thinking that is more in the western portion of the East Central region. We took out supper in the field south of Melville on Wednesday night, and it was David and Riley Kushnarik who are farming down there, and they hadn't even started yet. They were still waiting on some crops to turn, and they had done some desiccation, but some recent rains here over the past week had slowed things down as well. So they were hoping to start either Friday or Monday. So there are some areas here in the East Central that hadn't even started yet. So very interesting, different all across the province. Something else we wanted to talk about this week, of course, was Purely Canada having their license revoked by the Canadian Grain Commission. And Kevin, you were on top of that.
There's been rumors or fears that this was going to happen. They had facilities or have facilities in Avonlea, Kindersley, and LaJord. LaJord location, I've toured that, and it's quite impressive with some large storage and do bulk crops there. The sad thing is that there is a compensation program for under the Canadian Grain Commission for producers when they go unpaid from a grain company, but there is a time limitation, and it seems like nobody pays attention to the time limitation until they get caught by it. But you have to make a claim within 90 days of delivering a crop if you haven't been paid, or you have to make a claim within 30 days of a check that bounced or a cash a payment that bounced. And if you don't meet those timelines, you're ineligible for compensation. So at this point, we don't know how many unpaid producers there are who are eligible, how many may be ineligible. So it's going to be a situation to watch, and a sad thing to see a company not able to pay its obligations and farmers having to wait for their money. And some farmers probably are going to be out a bunch of money because they missed the timelines for eligibility.
Glad to hear that, of course. And of course, there was some big news on Friday, and that was the Teamsters Union, Ryan, who announced they were filing some paperwork in court regarding the two major railways.
Yeah, they made it official that they were going to appeal the decision made by the Canada Industrial Relations Board ordering them back to work as per the directive of the federal labor minister, Stephen MacKinnon. Essentially, their big argument is that their right to striking and job action has been stripped away from them. So they're challenging the constitutionality of that directive as well. And it doesn't really come as a surprise. It's just kind of another layer in the ongoing saga between the Teamsters Union and the railways that has been kind of going on since November of last year when contract negotiations first started. And the main stumbling blocks there being around crew scheduling, and wages always kind of factors in there as well, but primarily around scheduling and fatigue management. A lot of workers, they've worked a lot of long hours and could use a little more flexibility and a little more rest with that regard. So, it just kind of goes to show that they're still kind of far apart in that sort of thing when it comes to negotiations and all that. In terms of the binding arbitration, we'll find out, I guess, if, I guess the Industrial Relations Board, made their decision on Saturday to get the workers back to work as of last weekend. So, again, just another layer to this, and we'll see where this goes. I don't think that they have a case here, just given precedent over the last decade plus, but we'll see what the courts say.
Kevin, your take on it?
Yeah, I'm a little more fearful than Ryan. Usually when workers are sent back to work, it's taken an act of Parliament through the House of Commons, and sometimes the House of Commons is even called back early to deal with a situation such as this. This was a case of the minister under some section or other saying, okay, you guys have to go to binding arbitration. I think there's a 50-50 chance that the Teamsters will win this and say that that was not the proper procedure for forcing binding arbitration, and then we'll be back into a strike lockout position. Now, I hope I'm wrong, but I think that that risk still exists.
There is word that they figure this could take quite a while to wind its way through the court system, so we'll see where it goes. Ryan, as well, the Statistics Canada field crop numbers came out this week. You had a chance to speak with Adam Pacallo on those numbers and more.
Yeah, I did. And he noted for canola, as we always start with canola in our conversations, a lot of the gains made for this week was primarily due to a rally that happened on Thursday. It was about a $36 a ton increase on the week, and $28 of that occurred on Thursday. So good news there for the canola contract, after the last few weeks of being volatile and trading lower and lower. And we've kind of had conversations on the roundtable here previously of how low that the contract could go. So we'll see if that holds up into next week and beyond. As far as the Minneapolis wheat contract, the September one is pretty much expiring, and we're switching to the December contract. That was also having a good week as well. It was up some 20 cents a bushel on the week, but Pacallo said to, put the brakes on that while it was a good week for the contract. If you kind of look at a chart over the last year or so, the trend is still kind of going downwards. So that was kind of the latest on the contracts and how they were doing for this week.
Kevin, what did you think of the principal field crop numbers?
Seemed like people looked at them and then quickly turned them aside. This is a model-based forecast of production in Western Canada, and it was conducted in late July, which is now some time ago, and it's model-based in a year that was getting drier and drier. So how accurate are they? There may be some accuracy, but we really will look for the farmer survey based numbers when they finally come out. And the rally in canola this week really, I don't think had anything to do with the production model numbers released by Statistics Canada.
And finally, we're going to talk about the farm cash receipts. And Kevin, you did some research on farm cash receipts for the first 6 months of the year.
Yeah, Statistics Canada came out, and those kind of numbers from Statistics Canada are not like the production numbers or production estimates. These are hard and fast numbers. They go commodity by commodity, compare the first 6 months of this year with the first 6 months of last year. And due to the decline in most of the crop prices, crop receipts are down some $3 billion. On the other hand, the livestock receipts led by cattle are up about $1.5 billion. The biggest decline in provincially was in Saskatchewan because we're so crops dependent. That decline in crop prices really cut into farm cash receipts in the first 6 months in Saskatchewan. So that's a little worrisome from a cash flow and profitability point of view.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the SaskAgToday.com Roundtable. On behalf of 620 CKRM Regina Agri-News Director Ryan Young and the Chief Agricultural Editor for SaskAgToday.com, Kevin Hirsch, I'm GX94 Yorkton Agriculture Director Doug Falconer saying so long until next time.